Ladies and gentlemen, Microsoft is honestly just doing it to themselves, okay? And what are they doing to themselves? Well, it's quite easy. We know that the recent articles that have come out about certain people that work for Microsoft have been making this discussion about gaming is for everyone. The typical DEI stuff that we've been hearing for the last like almost a month now, Microsoft has been virtue signaling for it, and they've been doing certain checkbox requirements. Well, let me not use the word requirement because it's not a requirement, okay? They say it's optional, but let's be real. All these checkboxes that they have that they give out to all their developers who make games for their platform, I don't think it's very optional because we know that they're putting it out there basically telling you, hey, you should do this. You should absolutely follow these DEI checkboxes. Otherwise, there might be problems. But we're talking about this because Microsoft's gaming CEO, Phil Spencer, just recently admitted that the recent layoffs that hit Activision Blizzard were not due to anything other than failing industry profits, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, the industry profits are falling drastically, and you have to ask the question, why is that?
Hey, just was wondering, is this an out-of-season April Fool's joke?
Could it be a get woke, go broke situation? Maybe. It could be something like that. Could it be a combination of get woke, go broke, and overall just complete bombs in terms of the games, right? Because you can have a non-woke game still be absolute trash, and you can have a woke game be good. We don't see it usually. I'm just being real. We don't see it usually, but still, you can have those things. But I think what's happening here is that it's a combination of the changes they've made in terms of their ideology and pushing it really hard lately, because Microsoft really wasn't in the conversation until recently over the last couple of years. And overall, just their lack of actually making good content and not pushing their system. I mean, they're getting completely destroyed by PlayStation for the second generation in a row, to the point where I think they're going to bow out of the console race. So let's get into this article, guys, from Bounding Into Comics. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. So it says, despite having previously claimed that the recent round of Activision Blizzard King layoffs were undertaken out of a need to cut down on areas of overlap within the company, Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer now says the job cuts were done in light of shrinking profit projections for the coming year. As previously reported on January 25th, Microsoft announced that they would be cutting roughly 1,900 jobs across their Activision Blizzard, Xbox, and ZeniMax studios. It's been a little over 3 months since Activision Blizzard and King teams joined Microsoft, Spencer told employees in an internal memo announcing the news. Per a copy obtained by The Verge, as we move forward in 2024, the leadership of Microsoft Gaming and Activision Blizzard is committed to aligning on a strategy and an execution plan with a sustainable cost structure that will support the whole of our growing business. Together, we've set priorities, identified areas of overlap, and ensured that we're all aligned of the best opportunities for growth. Now, the funny thing is, if you talk to the mainstream gaming industry right now, right? If you talk to game developers, if you talk to game journalists, if you talk to anybody who's in the mainstream, they will all tell you that gaming is booming. They will all tell you that everybody's just being massively successful. Everybody's loving the DEI stuff. DEI is bringing in the cash. DEI is bringing in the new gamers. DEI is doing all this stuff, right? And yet, the entire industry was hit with a massive amount of layoffs, right? You can talk about overgrowth. You can talk about the fact that maybe they expanded too much during COVID. They got too comfortable. Maybe you could say something like that. But the point is, if that's the case, I mean, they had this money growing more than they had pre-COVID. So if you hired more people during COVID and you were making way less money, now you're making much more money. According to you, you're making profits out the ass. If you're making profits out the ass, then you should be able to support these employees. Something's not adding up here, right? You can't have massive amounts of growth in terms of profits, and yet you're losing employees. You're firing almost 2,000 employees. That's not a little bit. 2,000 employees is a hell of a lot of employees for a company like Activision Blizzard. So, I mean, you got to admit, something is not adding up here, and you got to start asking questions about who might be lying here. It says, looking ahead, we'll continue to invest in areas that will grow our business and support our strategy of bringing more games to more players around the world. He explained, as part of this process, we have made the painful decision to reduce the size of our gaming workforce by approximately almost 2,000 roles out of the 22,000 people on our team. However, it now seems that this explanation at the very least did not tell the full story. It never does. It never does. Whenever they explain something to the employees, they never want to tell the employees the God honest truth, okay? The reason why is because, number one, they don't want to make the current employees that are going to be sticking around after this firing, they don't want them to panic. They don't want the other 20,000 employees to panic and realize like, oh shit, this company is going down. You know, it's going down. Maybe I should start looking for another job. They don't want people to do that. So they try to quell the storm by telling people, oh, no, listen, everything's fine. We're restructuring, ladies and gentlemen. That's the word that they like using, restructuring. Then it says, as during a 2024 interview with Polygon, whether the need to reduce their headcount was due to an internal Microsoft problem or was representative of a larger industry trend, Spencer asserted it's a little bit of both. But I'll say the thing that has me the most concerned for the industry is the lack of growth, said the Microsoft executive. And when you have an industry that is projected to be smaller next year in terms of players and dollars, and you get a lot of publicly traded companies that are in the industry that have to show their investors growth, because why else does somebody own a share of someone's stock if it's not going to grow? The side of the business that's getting scrutinized is the cost side, because if you're not going to grow the revenue side, then the cost side becomes challenged. So I get the whole metrics about that. I totally understand. And obviously, yes, an investor wants to see their stock grow. Nobody invests in anything in a publicly traded company and expects it to go down, right? But if that's the case, why are you actively investing in shit that ruins your image in the public eye? Maybe you're losing gamers because you're losing the trust of gamers. You think people are playing less video games than they ever did 3 years ago? No, you have more gamers now than you ever did. It's just people are leaving you, Microsoft. That's the problem. People are choosing to walk away from your platform, to walk away from your games because you're not providing the value anymore. If you're not growing, it's because there is no value to be seen by the players who are looking at your product. That's just what it is. And again, that's not just because of wokeness, all right? I don't want to simplify this and say it's just because of wokeness. There is a ton of things that are happening at Microsoft that is their fault, and that's why they're losing so many players. But for you to say now you're gonna fire these employees, well, maybe instead of firing the employees, maybe you should have invested back to try to gain the trust of gamers back. But you're too busy telling gamers how much you hate them. You're too busy telling gamers how racist they are if they don't agree with DEI, that you don't invest properly. So you go for the easy answer, right? That's the easy answer. To fire 2,000 people to save your ass when it comes to the investors, that's the easy answer. You don't want to actually figure out how to make the company grow. You don't want to figure out what you're doing wrong and how to fix it. You just want to fire people. Just fire people. That way you save 2,000 jobs, you save a ton of money on payroll, and you look better to your investors. It is such a pathetic excuse. And honestly, all these companies are doing it because they know that the shit that they're pushing, nobody wants. And that's not just the DEI stuff. That's the games in general. They are pushing live service games that are complete trash when they come out. They're pushing all of these online only single player games, which make no sense, right? They're pushing all this stuff that they want to constantly milk gamers for every single dollar they possibly could, when instead of making really good quality games that are as bug-free as humanly possible, instead of these absolute train wrecks that release on day 1 and don't get fixed until day 90 because they know gamers are going to put up with it, that shit has to stop. A lot of this goes into losing the trust of gamers, and overall, it's hurting your pockets. It's very clear. So you cannot, it's an oxymoron. You can't have a booming business, which some of these people have said that they have. You can't have a booming business and then fire 2,000 people. You just can't. That just doesn't make any sense. It's very obvious that somebody's lying, and the ones who are lying are the ones that have the most to lose. And right now, that is the CEOs and the executives over at Microsoft that are trying to protect their pockets because their payroll and their salary is based in stocks as well. So the higher the value of the stock, the more return that they get at the end of the year. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.